Okay, guys, this is Chris Gura, Drummer's Guide to Gear. I'd like to give a big thanks to Rich Redmond. Currently, he's on tour right now with Jason Aldean. We had some things set up to do and scheduling conflicts on both ends. It just didn't work out, but he's been kind enough to take some time today and give us a call. So we're going to ask him some questions. So I'd like to thank you, Rich, for taking some time out of your day to give us a call and make this thing work.
Oh man, thank you so much, man. For the listeners, I'm in beautiful Sacramento, California. Actually, right out of Sacramento, it's a town called Wheatland. There's a big amphitheater here, and I know we were supposed to connect at Red Rocks, and with the new record dropping, so many things were happening. Like there were so many people taping and doing things at Red Rocks.
It happens.
This is great. This is great, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Rich. I'd like to just go ahead and kind of ask you some questions about like your early beginnings and stuff for the guys who ain't real familiar with you, and even myself kind of like to know what got you in music in general and playing and songwriting and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah, how did I start? I started playing in '76. Very young, hyper dude, type A, type young kid, and my dad I was like hitting a lot of stuff, playing pots and pans and stuff, and my dad said, let's get you some drum lessons. So he took me, I'm originally from Milford, Connecticut, New England kid, so he took me to this place called the Milford Percussion Guitar Workshop. Got me some lessons with a guy named Jack Berge, and he was very methodical in his approach in the sense that, he taught me how to hold sticks and taught me about rudiments and how to read and count, and we were doing it all on the old Gladstone pad, which is, those old suction cup pads that stick to the top of the snare drum. And then I was doing well, and I graduated to getting a little Blue Sparkle snare drum, and I was playing that, and then we started working on some Joel Rothman books. I added a kick drum and a cymbal, and of course playing along the Kiss records and Queen records and stuff. And I just kind of stayed on that path. We ended up, when I was 11, moving to El Paso, Texas, for my dad's job, and that ended up being a blessing because Texas is so rooted in music education, has such a, still to this day, music and the arts are dropping out of all these public schools, and Texas is just so strong. It's such a strong support for the arts because football is so big, and then there's that trickle down with the marching band and the pep band, all that kind of stuff. So, I was always in any kind of performing ensemble I could possibly be throughout school, and it was a real passion of mine. So I ended up going to Texas Tech University and studying classical percussion and drum set, and got a degree in music education, and then that led me to the University of North Texas, which is in this little town outside of Dallas called Denton, Texas, and it was a goal of mine to play jazz in the 1 o'clock lap band, and so I did that, and then after that, I had my master's degree, so if I ever want to go, wear the jacket with the little elbow patches and pass out the syllabus and, be Professor Redmond at some point later in life, that might be a fun option. Yeah. And I moved into Dallas, Texas, and was playing in all sorts of, cumbia groups and big bands and small group jazz ensembles and fusion groups. I was playing on jingles, playing in killer top 40 bands. Dallas still to this day has a really healthy music scene. And I was about to turn 26, and I was like, man, I'm going to be playing in these nightclubs forever unless I can get to the next level, which is that level that everybody wants to be at, which is being in some sort of regional touring group, or being a full-fledged member of a signed rock band, or being a sideman with a big name artist. And I knew that the only way to do that was to go to New York or LA. Nashville wasn't even really on the radar. And I prefer LA because you can have a car and the sun is shining. And so I was getting ready to pack my bags to go out there, and I heard about some auditions for some artists in Nashville. Long story short, back and forth, a lot of expensive trips to Nashville, taking auditions. People were really enjoying my playing, and I was like, well, man, I'm meeting all these wonderful people in Nashville. They like my playing. So I gave my band in Dallas 2 weeks' notice, and I just packed everything up and I kind of went boldly into the night there in Nashville, and got a little apartment and started crashing parties and shaking hands and going to open mic nights and putting my car at the coffee shops and hanging out at the music stores and just trying to meet people. And, you know, that's any advice I could give is to just let everybody know that you really do have to be able to play, but everything comes down to who you know, and more importantly, who knows you.
That was one of my next questions was going to be, I know a lot of the guys on the page, you know, we got a pretty good audience as far as music variety and stuff, but that was what I was going to ask is, you know, what advice can you give these guys that want to do what you're doing and be a professional musician for a living that are just starting out, like how to get there and how to brand themselves and do things, you know, the right way?
You know what, it's a great question, and every drummer that you ask will have a different answer because everybody has a different life path, different kind of purpose. Like, you know, we all play the drums, but maybe one person just loves death metal, and then they just love playing death metal, and it's like, okay, well, there's a really small niche, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to figure out a way, how am I going to make a living? There's 365 days a year playing this style of music. Well, probably the only way to do it is to put a band together that puts out product and tours relentlessly, because there's no airplay for that kind of music. Record sales are down, way down, and so really the only way to do it would be to, you know, jump into a 15-passenger van and go out there and get a list of all the clubs in the world that book death metal, and you go out there and you try to build a fan base. And it's probably would take 5 years to build a sustainable fan base, where if you have a 5-piece band, you guys are, you know, maybe getting past eating peanut butter and splitting T-shirt sales to pay for gas at hotels.
Yeah.
It's just such a tough business. So I say the only thing you could do is really be open to playing so many different kinds of music and fostering the skill set to play those different kinds of music. And once you start listening to a lot of kinds of music, you actually hear all the commonalities between. That's why I use this philosophy that I call the money beats, which is kind of like whether I'm teaching a 5-year-old child or a 40-year-old weekend warrior. I start teaching those beats, because if you can play those grooves, you really have the ability to play in a Latin pop band, a wedding band, a corporate party band, the same beats that are going to be used in smooth jazz music, and even a little bit of fusion and country and pop and rock. It's just a treatment of, like, you know, the application and the spirit of those feels will change. But if you want to put someone in a cowboy hat, look, I got a gig for you. We all wear cowboy hats. You know, this is the set list. You want the gig.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're first starting out, finding your way in the business, you kind of have to say yes to everything. That's kind of like my thought process, because by saying yes to everything, you're going to kind of find the people that you resonate with, you know, those birds of a feather, because you've got to get along with these people personally, not just music, you know, especially if you're traveling. And then there's the other guys, like, that are what I call the brass ringers, man. They just it just happens for them. They're in a band. U2, the Police, you know, Van Halen. I mean, that's a rare thing, and it's getting harder to do, because even bands that are getting signed, it's usually only the front man that's getting signed to the paperwork, and then maybe there's some sort of a back-end deal where the rest of the band is used in the marketing, and they're cut in on maybe some of the publishing or maybe some of the merchandising, but it's not truly a band. Because record labels don't want to deal with a full-blown band. They want to deal with, like, one point person, you know?
Okay.
It's difficult. So, you know, like I said, 365 days a year, my model in Dallas, Texas was, okay, well, if I play in a big band on a Monday night, and I play with a smooth jazz group on Tuesday night, and then Wednesday I play at the big, you know, church, Robert Tilton's big church, you know, and that pays. And then I play in a top 40 band on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I do a church service on Sunday, and I teach during the days and do sessions during the days. That's an okay living if you string it all together. I mean, you're doing well in Dallas, Texas, if you're working 6 days a week. And so then when I moved to Nashville, I took that same kind of mindset, which was to just hustle, man. You know, I did I did all sorts of strange auditions, and I did free showcases and played on free demos. And I would take my drum cat, and I'd be in some dude's basement playing on some song, and it just takes time to like for people to kind of put it all together and go, oh yeah, there's this new kid in town.
Okay.
Pitch, give him a call, and it's just tough. It's just tough because breaking into any new circle is a kind of a tough thing. But any city worth doing it in, like I said, it's gonna take about 5 years. You know, New York, man, that's a tough town. Los Angeles, very spread out. Great music scene, but it's just really hard to connect with people because everybody's kind of fragmented because of the population and the traffic. So people are less likely to say, yeah, I'll meet you for coffee. Where in Nashville, it's like, hey, you know, I get asked all the time, can I pick your brain about being a drummer and doing what you do? And I go, yeah, man, I'm on the way to a session. Meet me at 8:45 a.m. on Tuesday at this Starbucks. And it's like easy to do because it's kind of a small town, you know. So, man, I'm kind of think I might be rambling, but the idea is that there really is no way to do it. But if you are truly tenacious and persistent and determined, and you can play, I mean, you've got to be able to play, you know.
That was going to be...
Give yourself that skill set, you know, whether it be going to school, you know, like I went to school, so I'm kind of overeducated, you know. Okay. But you can also take lessons, or you can go to a school like the Drummers Collective or Musicians Institute or Lama or one of these more kind of vocational type schools where like the program is a year or a year and a half or 2 years, and you just play your drums 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, there's no math, science, history, that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah. That was going to be another question, and you pretty much answered it already, but being open and willing to play anything, because I've noticed even with a lot of, you know, Guns for Hire, these guys that are playing with really big bands, I've seen them play with a top 40 band, and then you say with like a more heavy metal band, and so you pretty much answered that question on, you know, being open and willing to play everything if you want to get to the professional level. So I think everything you just touched on was excellent advice.
Really to me, there's nothing worse than like a one-trick pony. It's like, well, you do your thing, and believe me, there's a lot of very rich one-trick ponies out there, but that's the exception to the rule. The rule is that the music business is kind of a tough place, and you got to kind of like jockey for position. And yeah, you will see, you know, world-class players that are doing, you know, big tours that are home on a Monday and Tuesday and want to go play different music, or they want to play on, you know, an independent record, and they go and they do it, you know, because they love music. And another good thing that happens when you're doing that is that it's really easy to get like little clicks. And so by going to do like other things, you're always kind of meeting new people, and it'll always be about people. So there's way more perks than to going out and doing those kind of things than going, oh, I got my big fat tour and I'm set, because you're never set, because the tour goes away, the artist goes away, you know, and I want to play. I want to play till the day I die. So you kind of got to keep putting your name out there no matter what.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. It seems like a lot of people say that if you want to get to the professional level, you got to be out there meeting people, letting people know you play, and just doing it. And you got to be able to make personal sacrifices. That was one of the next things I was going to ask you. In the professional, you know, your different stages of professional musician, what kind of personal sacrifices have you had to make to get to, you know, this upper level you're at now? Like, and even now, like touring and stuff, like, I don't think a lot of people realize the things that you have to, you know, deal with to make it happen. Like, what are some of the toughest things, you know?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. Yeah, lots of personal sacrifices. I mean, like, you know, the life of a musician is like anti, you know, the norm, you know, because the normal person is like, hey, I'm going to get my education, or I'm going to work really hard, and I'm going to climb the ladder of this company, and by the time I'm 25, I'm going to have this much money in the bank, and I'm going to have a house, and I'm going to have my 401k started. It just didn't go like that for me. You know, it was putting the dream that I had as the ultimate priority in my life, and it was so I was so tenacious, and I was so obsessed to the point of insanity of chasing the dream, and it has to be that much of a focus where it's like, this is going to happen. And one of the greatest things you could do for yourself is, of course, get the skill set together, but location, like a restaurant, right? I mean, a mediocre restaurant can sometimes do really well in a great location where there's a lot of traffic. So if you're trying to be a professional drummer in the middle of North Dakota, probably not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to be in New York, California, Florida, Chicago. You know, there's different scenes. Like, everyone gets crazy about Austin, Texas, and I love the fact that there's great music happening in Austin, Texas, but there's a ceiling on the music scene there. The machinery isn't there, you know. In Nashville, we have the songwriter, we have the label, we have the session musicians, we have the touring musicians. Like, the whole infrastructure is there of an entire industry, you know. So by just being there, you have a 5,000,000% greater chance of bumping into somebody on the bar stool next to you, or at Whole Foods, or at a traffic light, that can totally be a game changer in your entire existence, as opposed to having this dream and being somewhere where there's, you know, no activity, no musical activity. So that's one of the greatest things, is just relocating, and that's the first step that many people just don't have the guts to take, because it is a giant leap of faith. And it's and the time to do it is when you're younger. I'm saying you're never too old to chase a dream, but once you have that first couple mortgages under your belt, or if you're married and you have children, and then children become a priority, it gets very difficult to say, I'm going to uproot everything to chase this other thing that is very, very difficult, and there's no guarantee of a payout. So if you can do it earlier in your life journey, the better. Early 20s is always better. And yeah, you know, you would have not wanted to see my tax return my first couple of years in Nashville. I was like working day jobs, hustling gigs, and trying to put it all together. But the idea was to just stay in town and just suck it up until you put together enough of a reputation where you could sustain things. And it takes time, and you really do have to be patient about the whole thing. And it's the same thing with a band. You know, a lot of people, like, they'll join a band. It takes a couple of years to get a buzz going. And that's if there's no inter-band struggle. And that's what happens to bands. You know, they break up because of all the personal stuff. If they make it to actually getting signed to a label, then it might be a year of artist development, and then a year of doing the record, and then they go out and go on a promotional tour. And meanwhile, the band hasn't seen a dime, and this is a 5-year struggle. I mean, the last time I was in a band, I was donating plasma and selling everything I owned just to survive.
Yeah.
You know, it can be a really tough journey, and there's a little bit more comfort in being a sideman, because you know that you have a specific skill set, and it's just about marketing that skill set and letting people know that you can do it time and time and time again. Yeah. To where it's like, you know, you can jump from one thing to the other without having huge gaps of time between jobs.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you know, it's really tough on relationships. Most of the touring guys I know don't have pets because, I'm married. I don't see my wife very much at all, but we do all sorts of creative things to see each other. So we'll look at the whole calendar, for the whole year, and I go, okay, these are the times that I'm going to see you in Nashville. These are the times I'm going to see you in Los Angeles. These are the times that you're going to come out and see me on the road. And she's a touring entertainer as well, so I'll go out and see her do her thing. And meanwhile, we've got a 14-year-old cat, and we have to pay for a cat whisperer to come over and feed the cat. Yeah. So it's just, and if you don't have business in order, your grass is 4 feet tall and the mail is piled up and there's an inch of dust in your house. So it's really just an interesting lifestyle. It takes a certain commitment and personality to make it all work.
It sounds like a very difficult adjustment, especially if you're not used to it, I can imagine.
Yeah, I think that I grew into that. I never wanted to just be a studio musician or just a touring musician. I wanted to do both. And it's and then that's very taxing on your time because, a lot of my colleagues will go home on their off days to Nashville and and they have families, they have children. That's family time, and I end up writing a song or co-producing a record or going to play on somebody's independent record or doing some percussion overdub for somebody or going to an industry event. It's just a full-time kind of it's almost insane. It's at the brink of insanity, actually, a music career.
Now with I know you do songwriting, you do producing, you write, educational books, you do public speaking. How do you think the music industry has kind of changed all of this? So I've noticed a lot of people do multi things in music and out of music. And I'm sure it's because they love it, but does that have, does the music industry have any effect on that as far as, like you were saying, like with bands now, that the band is signed, but it's more kind of less like the front man. So is it a good thing to learn how to write and produce so you can get your name on, the credits for that, so you ain't just kind of getting skipped out of the money part?
Oh, God, yeah. It's really good to have. You got to be careful because you don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I'm a drummer. I'm a drummer and a percussionist, and that's what really makes me happy. But I'm also a businessman. So as long as you keep your eyes open to the opportunities of the world, they call it an entrepreneur. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Every time I shake somebody's hand, many times I see an opportunity to put collective energies together to create a product, create a new program. There's all sorts of opportunities that are just right. You just have to keep your eyes open for things. And I just grew up being a student of motivation and self-improvement and self-empowerment.
Yeah.
I read all the right books. My parents kind of just made that happen for me. They encouraged me to do that. And so since I've always been a student of that and I continue to read on that subject, I just felt like, doing motivational speaking, it just came very, very natural to me. So I figured I would combine that with the drums. So, your skill sets can come into play for you to create like all sorts of revenue streams for you. And beyond the revenue, I mean, it's people tell me that they get a lot out of these events. So it's like you're helping people. Sometimes you're helping people at the perfect day when they needed to hear that little dose of inspiration. And, as a songwriter, I'm not a fantastic guitar player, but I know so many musicians in the industry, so I can be a creative force. I can be the guy to pick up the phone and says, hey, what are you doing on Monday the 21st? Bring your guitar. And I make a nice, strong pot of coffee, and we get together and we get creative. And maybe I have a title in mind or got some great lyrics. And it's just everybody bringing their unique strength to the situation, like a strength in numbers kind of thing. And that's kind of how I write. I don't think I'm ever going to be like a Springsteen troubadour that can just sit and write a song all by himself.
Yeah.
There are guys out there, the Dave Grohls of the world, that play every instrument. That's their calling,
Yeah.
That's their calling. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of different things in the music industry, and another reason is just that the tools are all there for us. Apple has made everybody a producer and a photographer, and so it's like you could do pretty amazing quality photography and songwriting and all sorts of great stuff on a MacBook Pro or your iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So photography has taken a big hit, and music budgets have taken a big hit because people are creating really strong sounding demo recordings on their Mac, and so to get a demo in Nashville, it used to be $1,500 a song to pay for the studio, the engineer, the cartage, all the musicians, and a singer, you averaged about $1,500 a song, and now people can, at their leisure, build a demo recording in their MacBook in the back of a tour bus or in a dressing room, or it's just everything has changed.
That was going to be one of my next questions, was how has technology and the internet changed everything, with music and, like you're saying, other art forms as well. How have you seen, the internet and technology, affect all of this?
Well, I like to emphasize the best, the good in things, and I would say that it just makes, the world is your oyster. All the information of the world is at your fingertips. And as selling you as a product, there's a million ways to sell you yourself as a product for free.
Yeah.
Which is really good. Market your skills. Every drummer in New York and LA and Nashville has their own recording studio now. So if you want to get Sean Pelton to play drums, you can do it, and you don't have to fly him and put him up in a hotel room. All you have to do is send him an email. And, it's the same little things that happen for me. I always carry a hard drive around with me, and if somebody is attracted to whatever I do, I don't know if I have a style, but they're like, I want to get that dude to play on my record, and they send me the track, and I knock it out for them in an hour, and I send it back, and they pay me on PayPal, and they have a world-class drum sound that was recorded at Ronnie's Place or Soundstage or Ocean Way or one of the big rooms in Nashville. And then I also have a room in my house, and it's great. And I think for if you really want to do it right, I don't know, probably maybe $25,000. Depends on the preamps you get and stuff, and the microphones. I was given a lot of the microphones. I was given a lot of the stands. You get a MacBook, Pro Tools, the outboard gear is where you're going to spend a lot of your money. And then the room needs to be treated sometimes. Sometimes you get lucky, and the room just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
You can track drums for people anywhere in the world in the privacy of your home, which is really cool. The only thing that's the drawback is that I miss the human interaction of 8 people being in the studio, with the coffee pot and the charts and the fellowship of the musicians catching up and being around each other.
Yeah.
I miss that. But, yeah, anybody can play on anything for anybody, and anybody can communicate with anybody, and anybody can promote themselves as a professional drummer. Nowadays, it's all at the tip of your fingers, which I guess is a great thing.
Yeah. Talking about how you can literally track drums for anyone. Like you say, they can send you a track over email. Let's talk about some of the other people you've worked with. I mean, most people know you for your lessons and stuff and the Jason Aldean thing, but who are some of the other people you've worked with, say, songwriting, producing, drumming, just kind of in general?
Yeah, and drumming. Well, it's coming up in Dallas. There was cool opportunities to play, big band music, and that was always my advice. If you get a chance to play in a big band, they're kind of a dying breed, but if you can swing 17 guys, man, it is such an amazing feeling to have a big band, and to be able to. It's so great for your creativity and your reading and your time. But I played with, people like Steve Allen and Phyllis Diller and Randy Brecker and Luke Marini, and a lot of guys was in college for those 7 years. I got to play with some amazing, world class jazz musicians. That was really cool. And then when I moved to Nashville, I just kind of shifted my focus to I'm going to focus on anything with a backbeat, rock, pop, funk, R&B, because that's just kind of what comes natural to me. But I'm so happy I have the Latin and the jazz in my back pocket. It comes in really handy. So then when I moved to Nashville, my first gig was with a girl named Pam Tillis, who had about 18 top 10 singles.
Yeah.
It was really good. The first time I had a drum tech. And we played a lot of casinos and corporate parties, and it was an amazing, amazing time. And and then, sorry, I'm in a small dressing room. I wish I could describe the room I'm in, but it screams 1970s paneling, wood paneling. And then I got a gig with a girl named Susan Ashton, and she was kind of like a Dove award-winning Christian artist, and she was crossing over to country. So that was really fun because we got to do like the Austin City Limits and the Donnie and Marie show, a bunch of television stuff. That was really fun. And I played with like, country, old school country stars like Gene Watson and Earl Thomas Conley. Played with a lot of Opry stars, got to back up Vince Gill. I played with an early version of Big and Rich. Big Kenny was on Hollywood Records, and he had kind of like a rock pop record, and we toured that. And then he met John Rich, and then Big and Rich was born. And I backed up many a one-hit wonder singer-songwriter acts that had one single or two singles, and you tour with them, and they go away. With a girl named Ronna Reeves, so that was really fun. Let's see. I played with a guy named Tim Rushlow, who was the lead singer of a band called Little Texas. They sold about 10 million records, and then he wanted to start his own thing, so I started backing him up, and then we started a band called Rushlow, and we had 2 top 10 singles, and that was really fun because I got to experience, being in the band and being the guy that had to go do all the interviews and the meet and greets and, music videos and all that kind of stuff. And, of course, while all this was happening, I met a young Jason Aldean in 1999, and we were doing showcase after showcase and getting him to get signed, and then we recorded that first record in '04 and have been touring with him nonstop since April of 2005. But it's all a little bit of a blur, but on my website, richredmond.com, you can see, my list of credits, and it's just really, when you work with one person, hopefully they have a nice experience and they have good things to say about you, and then either the artist, management, or the people in the band recommend you to another situation. And that's always what it was, kind of thinking in terms of my Nashville family tree. It was always just trying to do the best possible job for people, and they would recommend me for someone else, and it would just keep he would just continue to work with great artists. My production company, New Voice Entertainment, is with
sorry about that.
I'm sorry, but I'm in a high traffic area now. See, my New Voice Entertainment group is me, Kurt, Allison, and Tully Kennedy, and we have, we've been, and also David Fanning, who's also a recording artist in his own right now. David Fanning was our first client, and we enjoyed working with him so much that we invited him to be in our company. So we're actually one of the first rhythm sections in Nashville to actually have a production company. And so David has some product out, and we're going to be working on a full-length record with him. We produced and played on the first 2 Thompson Square records.
Awesome. And
a band called Parmalee that had a #1 song called Carolina. And I didn't play on that, but I was more of like a drum coach, because my friend Scott in that band is actually a wonderful drummer. And I would people were like, it sounds like you. And I was like, well, they're kind of some of my ideas, but Scott played them. I think whenever there's a band being in the studio, they really need to play on their own record, because there's just such a stronger sense of ownership and pride that comes from when a band actually plays on their own record instead of using studio musicians.
Yeah.
And there's a new girl named Lindsay L. that has a couple of singles out. She's wonderful. She's this, attractive young blonde singer that writes a lot of raw material, and she plays electric guitar, which is great because there's no chicks in Nashville that are out there in high heels slinging an electric guitar.
Sounds awesome.
So, yeah, it's fun. It's just a constant, flow of creativity, whether you're playing on the road with somebody, or you're playing on someone's record, or what we do with New Voice is like, the whole process of finding an artist, getting them the right songs, recording the record, and then passing them off, and then they have to go find a band and get on the bus and go earn their fans. It feels good to know we were part of those things from the ground up, and then they're on the road now. They're on the charts. They have their own music videos. So it feels good to have been part of that process, you know.
Awesome. How much longer are you on tour right now with this tour that you're doing with Jason Aldean? And I know you got a real big drum camp coming up in October, so I wanted to know a little bit more about that, so if people are interested.
Sure, yeah. Oh, man, great question. We do 80 shows a year with Jason, which is very manageable, because when we were coming up, we used to do like 200 shows a year.
Wow.
And then, you know, the venues get bigger and the fan base grows, and then you end up doing, you know, 180, 160, 140, 120, and then, you know, he's with Live Nation now, which basically they promote every show, and I know my schedule for the whole year in advance, which is such a luxury, which is really, really great. But so when we go to October 25th, so, you know, Jason's 6th record is coming out. So on the 7th, October 7th, and so in between all of our shows, we're doing, you know, Jimmy Fallon and the Today Show, the Tonight Show,
yeah,
Kimmel, Yahoo, iHeart, like all the promotional stuff in New York and LA, which is fun, which makes for some interesting travel, and you don't know what time zone you're on, you know, it's a little crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go to October 25th, and then it'll be time for the CMA Awards, and the Progressive Art Society, and Christmas, and then NAMM, and it just kind of never stops, you know. But, yeah, it's super exciting. And yeah, my camp, man, it's my 2nd annual Drummers Weekend. Last year was really successful. It was a total blast. I had 15 students from around the world, ranging from 16 to 40. And we do 3 8-hour days, so 24 hours of hands-on training with me. And I have, like, some select teachers. So, like, last year I had Jim Riley from the Rascal Flatts, and I had Troy Laketta from the band Tesla. And so this year, these same guys are coming back. Jim is going to be teaching the national number system. Troy's going to be hanging out. He's my artist in residence. I just saw him last night, actually, at the Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View. It was really fun for us to catch up. But then I've also got, like, full-fledged clinics, like my friend Liberty DeVito, 30 years with the Billy Joel Band, Chris Fryer from the Zach Brown Band, and Sean Paddock, 19 years with Kenny Chesney. These guys are all going to be doing full-length 2-hour clinics. And then around that, I have things like a tuning clinic with Bruce Springsteen's drum tech. I've got a national number system clinic with Jim Riley. I've got an Ableton Live software clinic with Ben Jackson. And then I'm doing a percussion in music clinic with my friend Billy Hahn, who plays with Colby Calais. Denny and Beth Gottlieb from the Lieutenant Dan Band. You know, Gary Sinise, the actor, is actually a bass player, and he has a killer band. And then I've got guys like, you know, Lester Estelle from Kelly Clarkson, and Luke Bryans, Kent Slusher, and Garrett Goodwin from Carrie Underwood, and all the heavy-name guys in Nashville that I call my friends are going to be doing a panel, even like the legendary Eddie Bears, who, you know, the average studio musician's career is 5 years, and he's been doing it for 35
Wow.
years, being a top call drummer, you know, CMA, ACM Drummer of the Year for like 11 years in a row, and these guys are all going to come do a Q&A. And if that wasn't enough, you also get to play with a world-class rhythm section, and in the rhythm section, we'll give you immediate feedback on, hey, man, you're rushing this, you're dragging this, you can do better fills here, you missed this figure, you get ways to improve immediately. And then at the end of the camp, we all go to a famous nightclub that many bands got signed in Nashville, and the kids get to play a song with this awesome band and backup recording artists, Rick Brantley and Shelley Fairchild. They're amazing artists, and the catch is the students don't get to rehearse the song. They have to go in cold and play the song with the band. I tell them what the ending of the song is as they're walking up to the stage, and they're doing it in front of a paid audience. And then all the proceeds from that concert go to a music charity in Nashville. So it's just 72 hours of just action-packed information and education and networking. I mean, if you get to be around Liberty DeVito, Billy Joel, one of the biggest artists on the planet in the last century, and go to a big Italian meal and break bread and sit next to this guy and ask him whatever you want. That's
pretty awesome.
Not a lot of other. There's no camps in the world that are doing that, and I'm happy to say that. And it's a model we're trying to become a staple in the national community. And I'm already talking about branding Drummers Weekend, where I'm the host, and I'll do it in Chicago, I'll do it in Vegas, I'll do it in Los Angeles, I'll do it in Austin, and all the guest drummers will be backbones of those communities. So, you know, in Chicago, I'll ask Jimmy Chamberlain from the Smashing Pumpkins and you know, some of the other famous drummers from the Chicago area, and in Los Angeles, I'll maybe try to get Mark Schulman from Pink's band and Jason Shutter from Marilyn Manson's band and Nate from The Voice, and the kids will be up close and personal with these guys, which I think is important, because not only do I want to know about somebody's drumming, I want to know them. I want to know them as a human being and how they run their business and their thought process and their philosophies, and how they got to where they were. Yeah. And I think it's fun. I'm proud of it. So it's really easy to sign up. I would just go to richredmond, REDMOND.com, or just hit me with an email, booking@richredmond.com, and I'll personally respond to every email. And just sign up, and when the registration will go clear up to October 29th. So I think we have about another 4 weeks to register.
Sounds like a great time. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome to be up close and personal, and all the teaching events that you have going on. I think it'll benefit a lot of people if you can attend. I know I would love to attend. It sounds like a great time.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Hey, man, we build this page up for you and get you as a regular, sponsor of the event, man. That'd be amazing. Yeah,
that would be great. What other? I know you have your Fundamental for Kids drumming out. What other stuff do you have out right now that you, that people should check out?
Man, that is. Thank you for mentioning that. My book, Fundamentals of Drumming for Kids ages 5 to 10, is out. It won Best in Show at NAMM this summer and is a bestseller at Amazon.com, so we're really, really proud of that. But it's published by Modern Drummer. It's distributed by Hal Leonard, so you can order it at moderndrummer.com. You can order it at musicdispatch.com. I mean, I even saw it for sale at walmart.com, so they can deliver it right to your front door. And it's also carried by, I'm sure, all your 5-star drum shops, your Sam Ash's, your Guitar Centers. If they don't carry it, you can request it. And I mean, I would sure appreciate that. And the idea is to have that book be a staple, not only for drum teachers, but for general classroom educators, music therapists, because it's a simple enough system that it truly will work for a 5-year-old. At the same time, it would work, like it said, for a 40-year-old guy that's playing in a band that just wants to learn how to read music.
Yeah.
And it comes with a 1-hour DVD, so you can pause and fast forward and rewind. I'll be right there with you, right there in your living room, So we're really proud of that. ProMark's putting out a great thing called my Beat Sheet, and it's going to be a poster, and it'll be at all my clinics and stuff. And so I'm hoping that the Beat Sheet will end up in every drum shop and every band hall across the land. Early next year, and hopefully at NAMM, we'll probably have a soft launch of my Rich Redmond signature drumsticks, which I'm going to be really excited about. And I'm working on a DVD called Rich Redmond's Crash Course of Success, Drumming in the Modern World. And this is going to be a 6 to 9 hour triple disc DVD set, and it's I teach all the Aldine drum parts. I play along to 18 other songs with artists that I've played with over the years. There's all sorts of concepts about real world application, reading music, doing cheat charts, reading the national number system, transcriptions, playing click tracks, programming loops, overdubbing percussion. And then there's also footage from the road, and I offer a lot of just tips on how to take a career from A to B. And I'm hoping that that it will be with like a Hudson Limited or a Hal Leonard or someone, and it would be a physical product as well as a download. And I hope it will be out no later than summer NAMM of next year. I would rather it be out first quarter, but summer NAMM at the latest.
Awesome. And all these projects, the current ones that are out right now and everything, I'm sure if everyone goes to richredmond.com, you have links for everything up on the site.
Well, I'll have to do that, man. You just suggested that I should do that. There's nothing up yet for the DVD, but yeah, fundamentals. I would go to just moderndrummer.com because we have our own dedicated page
Awesome.
to the book, and you can order it there, or you can order it at dispatch.com or amazon.com.
Awesome, Rich. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today for talking with us. I know you're probably busy, and I hope lots of people sign up for the camp. I'll probably be contacting you a little more about that and talking about that. But I'd like to give a big thank you to you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out and making this happen. I know we had some problems, but I appreciate you doing this.
Oh, man, I really appreciate it. Happy to be here. And if anybody listening has any questions about anything, you can just hit me at booking at richredmond, redmond.com, and I'm happy to help. And we can also connect on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Awesome. Everyone, there you go. You got some great advice out here. I think he touched base on a lot of things I wanted to know. Again, thanks, Rich. So everyone, check out richredmond.com. There's lots of background information, previous stuff he's done. I'm sure the drum clinic, you have a link for that up on the page, right? For the drum camp?
Yes, right on the homepage, yep.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. Keep on listening and keep drumming.